Morning. Happy Friday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Lucas is back there making it happen. We are with you until 1 o'clock. We got a lot of things to do on this Super Bowl Friday, the last radio show of the football season. Does that feel traumatic, triggering to you at all? Good morning.
Good morning. No, the football season feels like it ends after championship weekend. Like the Super Bowl is a thing unto itself almost for me. Is that how it feels for you? Do you still feel like we are in football season?
You know what? I'm kind of like that with college football, too, where there's so much space. At least there's bowl games to kind of pass the time and stuff like that. But the extra week between the championship games, the Super Bowl, the college football playoff, it does feel like it's a separate part, not really a part of football season, if that makes any sense. I agree with you on that.
But with college football, for the most part, you have the anticipation of your bowl game. Like Tennessee's bowl game was on New Year's Day. It was right before all the playoff games, so It still felt like we were in season preparing for talking about an actual game. But the Super Bowl is always kind of different.
The F&M Bank chat is where you can interact. You can watch the show, live stream it on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and Twitch. You also have access to the phone lines, of course, 615-737-1045. Anthony, is it Karchi on YouTube? Says, ready to get the official off-season started. Well, yeah, that's because your football season's been over for a month. You've been chilling. You're bored. I mean, the coaching staff stuff was good enough to buy you a couple of weeks, right? But the Titans haven't played a game since, what, January 7th? Is that the game, the season finale in Houston?
No, the season finale was here.
Season finale against Jacksonville.
Yeah, been a month.
My memory has already faded from what your 2023 season was. So, of course, you're ready to get your offseason started. You haven't been doing anything. All right. Meantime, NFL awards, not, the most important thing in the world, but some interesting results. So, Lamar Jackson wins his second MVP, 27 years old. It is, are Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson surefire Hall of Famers? Mahomes a different case, obviously, than Jackson. But doesn't it feel like we're watching two of them in real time?
Mahomes feels like it's very close to yes. Jackson feels like...
It might already be yes for Pat. I don't know.
Jackson is on that trajectory if he continues to just prove people wrong on a yearly basis, but I don't think you can say surefire.
Sure, that's fair. Lamar does have a lot of different things besides the postseason success, right? As we see another Hall of Fame class announced and a variety of different players going in. The Texans sweep the Rookie of the Year awards, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. And then we get to Comeback Player of the Year. Joe Flacco is the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year. Now, that would be all well and good if not for the presence of one very, very specific situation where a football player died on the field and came back to be a part of a football team. His level of participation for that football team was minimal in Damar Hamlin, but he died on a football field and came back to play football in some form or fashion. Now, I will admit to you, I've already admitted this to you weeks ago, months ago, that I'm not crazy about the idea of Damar Hamlin, whose football impact was negligent to his team this year, winning Comeback Player of the Year, but I am understanding. I am accepting of it. I have already come to peace with the idea that the football player that died on the field and came back to be a part of a football team the following year should probably win Comeback Player of the Year. I'm good with that. Lucas is dying on a football field. Less of a comeback than winning 6 games for the Browns and making the playoffs. Help me make it make sense.
First of all, negligent is an interesting word by you. Seems a bit harsh.
It didn't do anything.
Yeah, but do you know what negligent means? Negligent means like
negligible. Maybe that's what I meant to say.
Failing to take
negligible.
care of something.
That's what I meant to say. I'm sorry. Okay, that's a fair correction.
Negligent is like you don't feed your pet for a week. That's negligent.
Okay,
I wouldn't call that. I have said, though, the award should be named after Damar Hamlin, and Joe Flacco should receive the award.
Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco should be the comeback player of the year.
What is the comeback player of the year? How do I define the comeback player of the year? What? Wait.
Joe Flacco is the deserved winner of the Damar Hamlin Comeback Player of the Year award.
No, you can't avoid it. Damar Hamlin has to win it for it to be named after him. That's not, you can't check both boxes by naming the award for him, not giving it to him, and then giving it to Joe Flacco, who's flying apparently economy Southwest on his way out to the NFL honors in Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, you see the pictures of him waiting in line to get off the airplane, just looking. I mean, he's 6'6". He's a giant, Joe Flacco, and he's stuck on a plane waiting to deboard. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He came back from his sofa.
Yes.
He overcame the sofa, the couch.
Yes. Yes, Buck. He did that and won 6 games in a row.
That is a higher degree of comeback difficulty than dying on a football field and playing for a football team in some form or fashion, even though the impact was negligible, not negligent. I guess the award to me is just silly anyway, because the fact that we're even having to have, is this not the most sports radio discussion ever? Dying on the field is not as important as winning 6 games for the Browns.
So what, have you reversed on this? Because you were out there saying, I don't know if Damar should get it.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing for Joe Flacco. Like, Baker, to me, is a better comeback player of the year story than Flacco is.
Why?
Because Baker Mayfield was left for dead in Tampa.
Yeah, Joe Flacco wasn't left for dead on his couch. Right?
No, he's been on a team. He's been a football player recently.
Yeah, at the start of the season, we all considered Joe Flacco to still be an active member of the National Football League as a starting quarterback. Absolutely.
You're
right.
At some point, yes.
No.
Yes.
He was on his couch, Buck. His
Lucas,
career was
How many
over.
quarterbacks played? How many quarterbacks played that one came in, got hot because he's a professional athlete, as professional athletes can do at any given point, even when they're 38. The degree of difficulty, again, the fact that these two are even in the same category is stupid. Let me start there, okay? There should be something specific for Damar Hamlin to celebrate him, and comeback player of the year should not have Damar Hamlin included in it because the conversation around this is, again, stupid. It should have been between Baker and Flacco, and I personally would have made the argument for Baker over Flacco because Baker Mayfield, we thought that they were going to be the worst team in football. His career was done. He's a first overall pick. Joe Flacco is a 38-year-old former Super Bowl MVP. He had a moment in the sun. He's just lucky that his moment in the sun came later than Dobbs, right? Well, Dobbs would have been the first half comeback player of the year.
Yeah, it petered out with Dobbs.
Right?
But yes, Joe Flacco, a 38-year-old whose career was done. So thank you for making the point that Joe Flacco is the most deserving. His career was over. 38 years old on his couch, and he came in and revived a Browns season that was dead. Dead in the water, gone. P.J. Walker, DTR, Deshaun Watson out for the year, wasn't playing well anyway. Browns season completely dusted, and they dusted off the 38-year-old Flacco off his couch. Yes, Baker Mayfield had a great season, should have been a candidate for it.
Won a playoff game.
Baker Mayfield should also still be in the prime of his career. Like, Baker Mayfield should win comeback player of the year because he didn't play good football for the last couple of years, and now he did.
Tannehill was 30 when he won comeback player of the year because he was hurt all the time and had a good year with the Titans. Like, this award is stupid. This award is stupid.
Why? What are you talking about?
I just don't know how it's defined. It's like the conversation between offensive player of the year and MVP. The MVP is going to be a quarterback. The offensive player of the year is going to be a position that was not the quarterback that won most valuable player, right? So are we doing a most valuable player award, or is the most valuable player always going to be a quarterback? I hate these end of season awards. I hate them even more because they're judged by the regular season only, which makes the conversation about Flacco getting to the playoffs or Baker winning a playoff game void because it's just the regular season. Lamar Jackson probably doesn't feel great about a regular season MVP because he got beat by the Chiefs again.
Yeah, Baker winning a playoff game has nothing to do with this award.
It is I mean, maybe I'm quibbling too much over something that's silly and just meant to be an end-of-season award ceremony or whatever. Maybe I'm taking this too seriously.
The NFL Comeback Player of the Year is typically given to a player who overcomes the worst adversity to return to play even a single snap of NFL football, such as not playing the previous season, injury, or for playing well in comparison to the previous year's poor performance. I think coming in to lead a team at quarterback to 6 straight wins, revive their season, and take them to the postseason off your couch is more impressive than not playing good football and then suddenly playing good football, which was the case for Baker Mayfield.
Right. Okay. That's fine. He won it over the guy that died. Okay.
Yeah, but that definition I just read sounds more like DeMar Hamlin.
He won it over the guy that died. Okay. My quibble is not with Baker Mayfield versus Joe Flacco or whatever. My quibble is with this award. Why are these three in a category together? So it's the most annoying version of a sports talk radio argument. He deserves this more than that guy does. But he actually does, because he died on a football field and came back to contribute in some form or fashion, even though he wasn't really a player for them.
I have no idea what your stance is on this.
I don't know why I'm talking about this.
You have made an argument for all three in the last 12 minutes.
Look, no, the argument is for the person who died on the field, winning it more than the 38-year-old washout.
Your first opinion on this was that you didn't think DeMar Hamlin should win Comeback Player of the Year.
I wasn't crazy about the idea of it. I wasn't taking a strong stance against DeMar Hamlin by percentage of snap counts and how many defensive snaps has he played versus special teams and all this different stuff.
The
guy died. I wasn't crazy about it, but I was accepting of it. I was ready to accept it. And then, when I've already lulled myself into a sense of acceptance for a calendar year, Lucas, from the time that this happened, that DeMar Hamlin, we all talked about this. This is kind of like a different version of the Mike Vrabel's for sure going to get a job by the time you fire him, and then Mike Vrabel doesn't get a job. DeMar Hamlin was for sure going to be the comeback player of the year. I'd convinced myself that was okay, and now Joe Flacco wins it, and I'm upset again.
Because he was hanging out on the couch with you and me, Buck, and then he came back to win 6 straight games and set NFL.
It's so stupid.
Like, it's not like he was throwing for 100 yards and the running back depth and defense was doing the job. He was setting NFL records in those 6 games. Like, he was doing things that no quarterback has ever done in the history of the National Football League.
What did he do that he
off
did?
His couch?
What specifically did he do something that has never been done in the history of the National Football League? Is that accurate?
I'll pull up this.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We don't have to talk about this crap anymore. It's dumb.
It was like consecutive games with X amount of yards.
I don't care.
X
Joe
amount of
Flacco's the
touchdowns.
comeback player of the year, and the whole thing is stupid. That's my point. That's all it is.
You're wrong. Thank you for saying it. The awards loved the Browns, by the way. Kevin Stefanski, Coach of the Year. Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year.
Pretty close voting in the Defensive Player of the Year. Did you see T.J. Watt tweeting very, Dark Knight-esque type stuff?
Nothing I'm not used to.
Okay, TJ, I'm sorry. Joe Flacco got an award and you didn't.
Meanwhile, Micah Parsons is like, shut up. Miles deserved it.
Is that what Micah Parsons said?
Yes, he took to Twitter.
That's great.
And because, Cowboy fans were losing it, thinking that Micah Parsons deserved the award. And he said, horrible take. Miles was the better player. Reality of the situation. Miles faced way more double teams and affected QBs. Fans, please stop looking at stats and look at film. That is from Micah Parsons.
No, that's straight up the truth, because TJ Watt, we don't have to get too bogged down in this, but there's a lot of players who can stuff a stat sheet, right? And there's a lot of players whose impact you cannot determine based on the stat sheet alone. That's Micah Parsons' point, and that's a point that I agree with. Good. I'm fine. I'm glad that we could come to consensus by the end of this damn segment. Coming up next, what we were most right and most wrong about this NFL season. The 2023 NFL season will conclude with Super Bowl 58 on Sunday. We'll get into that coming up next.
Life is busy. We could all use some extra time in our day, which is exactly why Two Rivers Ford offers mobile service. We'll bring the service to your driveway at no additional charge. Oil changes, brakes, batteries, the certified technicians at Two Rivers will perform basic maintenance on your vehicle wherever you are, so you'll have more time for moments like this. Schedule your mobile service appointment by scanning the QR code or calling Two Rivers Ford today.
Joe Flacco is the first player in NFL history, Buck, to record at least 250 passing yards and 2 touchdown passes in each of his first 5 games with the team. So you want your record. There's your NFL record.
That's such a piddling record for you to drag in here.
What a piddling NFL record. That's never been done in
that
the history of the National
Football
Football
thing
League.
For you to stand on and to beat your chest with pride about. Well done by you. I'm very happy. Where did you find that?
That is
cite your sources.
247 Sports.
Okay, very good.
But it's just a number. They're not like reporting that. It's just a fact.
Well, sure, but it's not a fact that you looked up, right? I think it's important that if you took that from somewhere, you should probably say where you took that from.
So, you want to present DeMar Hamlin? That's fine.
No, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
On your stance,
I don't want to do this anymore.
Don't give me Baker Mayfield.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Because you've lost the argument.
No,
That's
I didn't lose the argument. It's a stupid thing that we're talking about. People are yelling at their radio, shut up, you idiots, and talk about something that actually matters.
Doug Falling says, this was some of Buck's worst work. D. Good says, Buck has the worst takes.
This
might be worse than the Deion Lewis
one. Do you want me? I will sit here in silence and make you sweat it out again. Bert loved that segment. Loved it. I haven't looked at the video. Apparently, you look deeply uncomfortable and all that. So if you want to cherry pick things from the comment section, I'll just sit here and let you sit in it again. Anyway, speaking of things that I'm loud wrong about, Blaine and Mickey, I did their show yesterday before we get into the things that we were most right about in the NFL season and the things that we were most wrong about in the NFL season. I did a segment with Blaine and Mickey yesterday, as is the custom on Thursdays. And just as, a parting question, right? Mickey asked me, what's your favorite Super Bowl food? And, of course, I gave a weirdo answer. Are you doing a Super Bowl party?
Yeah, I'm going over to a buddy's house.
All right. I am going to be at Jackalope with our friend Lindsay Rowley from the Bally Sports Preds broadcast. With Chris Mason and Hal Gill. They're throwing a Super Bowl watch party. They're doing it to benefit Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which I'm a part of this year. And so they're going to raise money for that at Jackalope for the Super Bowl party. It's going to be an awesome time I think it's from 4 to 10 that we've got the space rented out. So if you don't have Super Bowl party plans, come hang. Do you have a particularly favorite Super Bowl food? We talked about this maybe with Alan.
Yeah, Alan Bell earlier this week. Wings. It's always wings when it comes to football.
See, I agree, but I don't like eating wings in public places. I think wings are one of the more embarrassing foods that you can eat, like around people, and I don't like mess. So I was talking. So Blaine blew his mind that I wouldn't eat wings in front of people or something like that because I just I don't like the stuff all over. I like bone-in wings. I'm not a boneless wing person. If you're going to eat wings, eat the wings. But it's not like something that I want people to see me eating wings.
What are you afraid of?
That. People seeing me eating wings. That's what I'm afraid of. But it's also, there's all kinds of weird, offshoots off that. Like, I won't eat French fries with my hands. I don't like getting my hands greasy. I eat them with a knife and fork.
Oh, my God.
Also blew Blaine's mind with that one. Then he asked me, well, do you cut up your hamburger in, little pieces? Like, if you're getting a cheeseburger, you cut it up into little pieces? Like, no, I'll pick up that cheeseburger, but I'll put a napkin around it because that's disgusting. It's greasy.
I don't understand you. You're afraid.
I know. I'm
afraid to eat things in public. Like that's your irrational fear.
Yeah, that's right. Well, no, wings. I'm afraid to eat wings in public. Things like wings
and fries.
No, I eat fries in public. I'm just going to do it with a knife and fork.
I promise you will get judged.
I won't eat ribs in public.
I promise you will get judged so much harder by people in public eating fries with a knife and fork than with your hands, like a normal person.
Sure, but there will be nothing. There will be no pieces of meat or tendon hanging out of your teeth or sauce all over your face. If I'm eating fries with a knife and fork, I've protected myself against the thing that I fear from things like ribs or wings. 615-737-1045. It's the number. Luke in Hendersonville is up next. Hey, buddy.
Man, my testosterone is dropping just listening to this. What do you mean you eat fries with a knife and fork?
What does testosterone have anything to do with French fry eating? Is your masculinity defined by the way you eat a French fry?
Men eat wings. If you want boneless wings, you can get a Happy Meal and get nuggets.
Well, I don't eat boneless wings. I eat the wings. I'm just not going to eat them in public. Were you not listening?
fries with a knife and fork? I've never seen such. Okay.
That's right.
Anyway.
What you got, Luke?
I originally called about the awards. So, obviously, yes, it's pretty much known that the overall MVP is going to be a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to have a defensive player of the year, you need an offensive to give it. I mean, that's going to be, the highest award for an offensive player other than the quarterback. But, yes, I agree with Lucas about Joe Flacco. I mean, he revived that team from the dead, the terrible deal, Deshaun Watson, all that. Now, and also,
can we wait, Luke? Can we lump that in overcoming Deshaun Watson as a part of that? Like, because I'm willing to hear the Joe Flacco argument more because he overcame the Deshaun Watson situation.
Yeah, I mean they kneecapped themselves with that contract. They're screwed for years. But anyway, also being a medical professional, I love Damar Hamlin. It's a miracle, everything's great, but he wasn't clinically dead. He had a cardiac arrest, but they didn't pronounce him dead. So. But yeah, I think, the minimal contribution is a great story. I do think they should name the award that, but Joe Flacco, very deserving, reviving that team, taking them to the playoffs, and then the stats Lucas pulled up. But yeah, name the award the Damar Hamlin Comeback Player of the Year award, and I'll agree with that.
And never give it to him. Thank you for the call, Luke. We appreciate it. You don't have any weird food things? Any weird food things at all?
Like tendencies that I don't like or that I'm afraid to.
Things that would be uncommon.
No, buddy, you put it in front of me.
No, I know. I've seen it.
It's going to get eaten.
I've seen the most shocked I've been is when you and I went to T.O. Fun over there on Buchanan the other day after the Callahan introductory press conference, and that you couldn't finish your food. I was shocked. They overwhelmed you with delicious Mexican food.
Sometimes my eyes are bigger than my stomach, but I always take it home.
It's rare. All right. What were you the most right about that ended up coming to pass in the 2023 NFL season? We get ready to put a bow on it. What were you most wrong about? Things that whether you were picking teams to win divisions, whether you put down a Super Bowl winner or Super Bowl appearing future, right? Bets, picks among your buddies, just things that you're talking about before the football season starts. What were you most right about, and what were you proven to be most incorrect about? I think we should start with the things that we were most right about. And if I had to pick anything to stand on and beat my chest about the way that you're beating your chest about Joe Flacco, it's the fact that Titans offensive line was trash from the minute that they got out onto the practice field, and that we knew it right away. Right away. I feel like one of the first or second training camp broadcasts that we did, we were out there watching, looking around saying, oh my God, I know they're not in pads, but this is bad. The defense should not win as often as they are. Now, the Titans' offensive line ended up being the thing that undid them the most at any point throughout the course of the 2023 season. It is the thing that they have to get most right. Again, having chased this thing for 4 and 5 off seasons, it feels like, since Jack Conklin basically walked. But the thing that I feel the most entrenched about, or the thing that I felt the most right about, having seen the 2023 season play out in front of me, is that the Titans' offensive line was one of the worst units in football, and it ended up being far worse than even I'd imagined.
It did, didn't it?
Bad. I take zero pride in that. I had to watch them all year long. I regret it. I regret being that right. I've never regretted being right in my life. I regret being that right.
I was most right about Brandon Staley.
Oh, yes, your boy.
You talk about pre-fired coaches. I think Kevin Clark tweeted this when Mike McCarthy, when we found out he would be coming back with the Cowboys, and Kevin Clark, who we had on the show not too long ago, said, Mike McCarthy is the most pre-fired coach in America in 2024. You've never seen a coach this pre-fired. And me and Bert had the discussion that day, the most pre-fired coaches of your lifetime. And we talked about David Culley and Lovie Smith and that little mini era of the Houston Texans. Coaches that you just know, no matter what happens here, you're not coming back. And Brandon Staley was that guy for me coming in. The Chargers were hapless. And Justin Herbert going down just kind of sent them into a deeper spiral. But Brandon Staley was one that 2 years ago felt like you could sniff this guy out. And has he found a landing spot?
Staley, no.
As a defensive coordinator?
No. Remember the Schefter tweet about him being a top defensive coordinator candidate? He is also.
Right, like Vrabel was a top head coach candidate?
Yeah.
Another one we were wrong about, by the way. Maybe we'll get to that.
What, Staley?
No, Vrabel.
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you want to keep doing things that we were right about, or do you want to now pivot to wrong about? Because that's a pretty loud wrong one.
What were you most wrong about?
The Jets. The Jets, and that ended week 1, so it doesn't feel like it feels like you almost get a pass for thinking that the Jets were going to be competing legitimately for a Super Bowl if you went into the season feeling that, because his Achilles popped 5 plays in to their NFL season after he runs out on 9/11, the night of 9/11, or the anniversary of 9/11, with the American flag in New York, and the crowd's going crazy, and he's under center, and then all of a sudden you see his tendons boing off the back of his calf, and that is how the Jets season effectively ends 5 or 6 snaps into their season. So maybe you give people who are picking the Jets to win a Super Bowl or compete for a Super Bowl or win their division a pass, but I don't want to say that it's funny the way that it happened, because of course injuries are not funny, but there is some level of sinister comedic irony to the way that the Jets season played out.
Mine goes back further than just what we were talking about for the 2023 regular season, but going back to the draft, Will Levis. I was wrong about Will Levis. And that doesn't mean that Will Levis is the surefire answer and is going to be the franchise quarterback for the Titans and lead them to championships. We have yet to learn that about the Titans quarterback as he heads into his second year. But my whole contention against Will Levis is I don't think he's a guy that can lift a team that is in a bad situation. And that's exactly what he did. His first start doing something that only 2 other quarterbacks in the history of the league had ever done, with 4 touchdowns in his debut. So dead wrong about Will Levis being able to make an instant impact on a team that desperately needed a lift, where protection issues are a huge problem. Wide receiver outside of DeAndre Hopkins. He came in and did it. And he came in and gave Titans fans and the Titans, frankly, enough to say, okay, the next offseason's about this player.
Yeah. I mean, listen, to be completely fair, okay, he didn't fix all of their problems, and nobody expected him to, but he was 3-6 in 9 starts. He missed a couple of games due to injury and had to leave games early because of injury, and we've talked about the state of the offensive line as a result of that. He threw for just over 1,800 yards in those 9 starts. He had 8 touchdowns to 4 picks. The accuracy stuff is still, I think, a legitimate question about him, even though he got away with a lot, I felt, in 2023. But to your point, he belongs. He's no longer their future. He's their present, and they have to get that right. And your level of wrongness was based on, as you just said, that you thought things had to be completely perfect around Will Levis for Will Levis to be the best version of himself, right? 2021
Correct.
Kentucky
yes.
to 2022 Kentucky. But I really do think, Lucas, that the discourse around Will Levis did him a disservice in that pre-draft process. To hear people talk about it after the fact, he sounds like he was playing through a lot in 2022.
Injury-wise, you're saying?
Injury-wise, yeah. That he legitimately should not have been out on the football field beyond just the talent drop-off that the Kentucky roster had. So it's tough to do those things in real time. You don't always have all of the information at your disposal. But a part of the Will Levis thing is not just that he's a high-level, that he has the potential to be a high-level player, is that he's got the kind of toughness that makes you excited about him gutting it out. All right, we'll get to what we were most wrong about here in just a second.
And apparently a hell of a poker player too, Will Levis.
What happened?
I don't know if you've seen this.
What, he played poker last night?
Yeah,
he won in poker last night?
Yeah, go look at FanDuel Sportsbook's Twitter account.
What?
Will Levis is all over the place.
What happened?
Sometimes I'm so shocked at how much screen time you consume per day that you miss things like this. Yeah, he called the flop.
Well, there's a million things happening in Super Bowl week. I mean.
He called the flop where he just goes 4-8-9, and then the cards on the table are 4-8-9.
No,
and Levis, he looks shocked by it. He's like, "Oh my God, I called it." But yeah, he was at a table with various celebrities playing. Go look at FanDuel's Sportsbook's Twitter page, and you're going to see the Titans quarterback all over the place.
Well, I saw him beat Trevor Lawrence in ping pong. like a tremendous victory for the AFC South. It's the biggest AFC South win of the Titans' 2023 season, arguably.
Joseph Bonanno, Blaine and Mickey's producer, was in here saying, can Will Levis count cards?
He's Alan from The Hangover.
Can he process? Yeah, a real Rain Man moment there for Levis.
S2 didn't tell us that.
Yes, that's my quarterback right there.
Trey in Nashville is next. Hey, Trey.
Hey, what's up, Bucky?
Yo.
Hey, I was right 2 years ago. I called into your show. I said, Vrabel's getting fired. Oh, no, he says. Oh, he's the coach of the year, he says. Oh, he got 83 people to come play. That's like getting people from the temp service, Buck. I was right. You were wrong, but you're still my brother, buddy. I love you. You have a good day, okay?
Thank you, Trey.
It ended so tenderly.
You can't. Well, I appreciate that. It's very sweet of him. Also, you are still wrong. He did not get fired in 2022. He got fired in 2023. So, yes, the year after he won the Coach of the Year, he was still in a good spot.
It's strange to use that as the time to stand. Like this season.
You could have hit me hard, Trey. You had the opportunity to just knock me down right there because I was loud about Mike Vrabel not getting fired. Basically, until I came in here the Monday after the Jags game, right? I was like, oh, bleep, I think he's getting fired. And then he got fired on Tuesday.
So the last game of the season?
That's right. Yeah. I didn't think that Mike Vrabel was getting fired until Sunday. Until I was at Nissan Stadium Sunday talking to a bunch of people like, oh, damn, I think he's about to get fired.
We were dead wrong.
So you could have taken me out right there, Trey. But no, you can't say I called in 2 years ago after he won Coach of the Year.
The one seed with 83 players used. Don't use that as your evidence.
God. Mike in Nashville is next. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, first-time caller?
Good, buddy.
I picked up on the end of your comeback player of the year. How about Baker Mayfield? I've been a lifelong Bucs fan, suffered through all the horrible years and a few good years we've had.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there is an argument to be made for Baker. I think that the degree of difficulty on what Baker did is as difficult as what Flacco did. But again, you know, the level of discourse around this particular award, I'm not mad with Flacco over Baker. I'm just mad with the general premise of the whole thing. That's my position on comeback player of the year.
It's such a strange thing to be upset about.
Listen, I don't tell you what you can get upset about. I'm allowed to be upset about the things I want to be upset about. Okay? I think this is stupid.
Every league is a variation of this award. It's just it's strange to me to be upset about.
Listen, I'd do
the
away
idea.
I'd do away with Coach of the Year award too. How long? Okay, you want to? Stefanski, over under, fired in 2 years, Coach of the Year.
Yeah, it's not a great, the last couple.
Brian Daboll coming in, hot seat.
Yeah, coming in with some pressure.
Right.
With Shane Bowen to come in and save his defense.
The coaches should want the Coach of the Year award done away with. They keep getting fired after they win it.
That's Stefanski's second, too.
Is it really?
Yep.
Oh, because he won it when they went to the playoffs with Baker.
COVID year.
Oh. Wild. All right, he's already beaten the odds. Look at Kevin Stefanski. Well done. How many does Bill Belichick have? I bet he doesn't have more than 3. That's like the Michael Jordan MVP discussion or the LeBron MVP discussion. You just got to give it to somebody else besides those two.
He has exactly 3. He last won it in 2010.
Think about that. Kevin Stefanski has 2 and Bill Belichick has 3. This is nonsense. I'm telling you, these awards are dumb. All right, we don't have to spend any more time on it. SEC Stat of the Day is next. So we're in the hoops portion of the calendar. Baseball right around the corner, though. Not too far away from some Vols and Vandy baseball back in our lives. I assume the SEC stat of the day has to do with basketball, though. Where are you taking us today?
Down to College Station, where Tennessee is headed tomorrow night. 7 p.m. is the tip. Vol Network call will be here on the Zone. Tennessee at Texas A&M. The Vols are, by the way, officially is not the word, but Joe Lunardi has Tennessee as a 1 seed after their win midweek against LSU and getting some help with some top 4 losses. Kansas, UNC going down. So Tennessee is in that driver's seat, so to speak, where if they take care of business these next 5 games and then can get through the last 4 where they got to revisit matchups against Kentucky and Alabama and then face Auburn and handle themselves well in the SEC tournament, Vols have a real shot at their first ever 1 seed. So Tennessee at Texas A&M, 7 p.m. is the tip-off. Big game in the SEC regular season title race. One thing Texas A&M does very well, rebounding. Anderson Garcia is the number 1 rebounder in the conference with 8.9 boards per game. He pulled down 16 against Missouri in their win earlier this week, certainly boosted that average. But they've won 4 of their last 5. They beat Kentucky back on January 13th, put up 97 against Kentucky. Once again, we come back to that Kentucky defense.
Terrible.
A&M 14-8 on the year. And again, a take care of business type of night for Tennessee. But if you're thinking about how the Vols could slip up here, it's one of 2 things. It's getting dominated on the boards and just going totally cold from the floor. And it feels like both of those things would have to happen because Tennessee, quite frankly, got dominated on the boards against LSU, out-rebounded 40-26. Maybe that number's a little skewed. LSU out-rebounded Tennessee on the offensive boards 18-5, but Tennessee was just shooting lights out in that game, especially the first half. There wasn't really a need for second chance points for Tennessee. A&M, the number 2 rebounding team in the SEC, 43.3 per game. Florida is number 1. Vols are middle of the pack at number 7. They pull down 39 rebounds per contest. So playing an A&M team that's starting to round into form, playing some of its best ball, and Tennessee is just in that mode now where any loss is a big blow to regular season title hopes because, man, it's a tight race. It's Alabama, South Carolina, Auburn, and Tennessee, each with 2 SEC losses apiece, A&M 5-4 in conference play.
Well, South Carolina's at the top of the conference.
Yes.
I mean, after that win over, we talked about that close win that they had at home against Ole Miss. Do you know South Carolina's won 6 straight?
Yeah, they're the first team in the league to reach 20 wins. They host Vanderbilt Saturday, so another opportunity to take care of business for the Gamecocks. Lamont Paris, can't say enough good things about what he's done there, former UTC head coach. So, by the way, this weekend, Gonzaga is at Kentucky. Not the Gonzaga that we've gotten used to the last few years.
No, they're probably going to – I mean, they're probably going to miss the tournament based on how Gonzaga's year is going. I mean, this has really been, I think, a tough season. And I'll be honest, I'm not checking in on WCC basketball that often. But I think a lot of people saw them lose the other night to St. Mary's and the Gonzaga fans throwing trash on the court and Mark Few, not going full Coach K and yelling at them over the intercom, the fans, but like being like, hey, waving a finger, we don't do that here, yada, yada. It's a down year. It's a down year for Gonzaga. And honestly, I mean, this is one of the few moments in like the last 20 years that I can remember of watching college basketball, like really watching college basketball, that Gonzaga's not going to be in it as one of the better teams. Maybe not a top seed the way that they have been in recent memory. But I like the idea of the tournament looking a little different in spots this year.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about this all throughout the regular season last year. All the parity in college basketball this year. Who's the best team? That was a talking point last season, too. Then we get to the tournament, and UConn just cruises to the national championship. Like, what was their average margin of victory was something ridiculous in the NCAA tournament last year.
It was pretty substantial. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
So the tournament did not really follow the thread that the regular season was going down last year. We'll see what happens this year because it does feel very up in the air. Gonzaga, though, you talk about a resume-boosting win and a much-needed one. Here's a chance to do that against a Kentucky team that's struggling at home and that just has not been able to stop anybody this season.
When's the last time you looked at KenPom rankings?
Oh, quite a few weeks, probably since non-conference play.
Okay, so Do you want to take a guess who Ken Pom has as the best team in college basketball right now?
UConn.
No, Houston.
Houston.
UConn
Who lost this week?
Houston, and these are the most updated. This is as of yesterday updated. Houston, Purdue, Connecticut, Auburn, Arizona, Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, Illinois, Marquette. That's the top 10. You have to go.
No, I'm sorry. Houston won this weekend. Houston beat Oklahoma State this weekend.
You have to. I'm looking for South Carolina on the. You have to go to 45 before you find South Carolina based on their adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency ratings and their strength of schedule and the different ways that these are stacked. They're right. A&M is actually ranked higher in Ken Pom than is South Carolina. They are bracketed by Utah State and SMU. Now, A&M, as you mentioned, a really good rebounding team, but a better offensive team than I think a lot of people might give them credit for. Just kind of following them, off to the side throughout the course of the season.
Well, Wade Taylor, the fourth, is one of those guys that's just felt like he's been around forever. Now, Tennessee's got quite a few of those as well. Like, I wonder what other SEC fan bases think about, like, Santiago Vescovi. Like, you're playing Tennessee this week. Like, how is Santiago Vescovi still playing for the Tennessee Vols? I'm sure that Tennessee gets that a lot.
Somebody just asked me in the F&M Bank chat where Indiana is. I don't want to look it up.
Who do y'all have this weekend?
I don't. Let me check.
Great fan you are.
Huh?
Great fan you are.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff going on this week.
Just Purdue. Not a big deal. Not
that's
a big
right.
game.
It's Purdue Saturday night at Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Because I had texted our friend Preston earlier in the week and said, I can't be alone. Somebody needs to go to a bar with me to watch this game. I can't do this. I'm not in a mental state to do this. In fact, I think, Lucas, I've put it out of my mind because I did make plans to be around people that I love and care about for this Indiana-Purdue game, and since then I've just completely put it out of my head.
Why don't
we want to do this live and look this up on KenPom? This is going to hurt.
Go ahead. Why don't y'all do us a favor and beat Purdue on Saturday and see if you can sneak Tennessee into that top 3?
Do you know how excited I got when I control F'd Indiana and saw 34?
On KenPom.
But it's not Indiana.
Indiana State.
It's Indiana State.
Indiana State's a damn good team this year.
Indiana's 96.
Wow. The Sycamores. Best team in the, what do they call Indiana? What's the nickname? Like Tennessee's the Volunteer State. Oh, the Hoosier State, of course.
Now, what do you make of this? Because this I think is a bigger discussion around the Big Ten, because Indiana is 96, and that's disgusting, and it hurts my heart, and it makes me very sad. They are 96 between Rutgers, Big Ten legend, right, and Michigan. Michigan is 97th.
Yeah, they play Nebraska. They're 8-15. They're at Nebraska this weekend.
The Big Ten is bad this year.
Yeah, it's Illinois. Luckily for Tennessee, they've played 2 of the 3 best teams in the Big Ten this year, and they've won at Wisconsin and at home against Illinois, who have played good ball since. But and then Tennessee had that win against Michigan State, was an exhibition game. But yeah, it's very top heavy, the Big Ten.
The difference between Super Bowl 54 and Super Bowl 58. Why are we comparing the two? Well, both of those games featured the Chiefs and the Niners. A similar Chiefs team, a much different 49ers team. We'll talk about the differences next.
So this is a small bird, too, for
That's
someone.
right.
So this is a small bird, too, for
That's
someone
right.
that's never seen a
Yeah.
bobwhite before. It's this little round softball.
That's right. Yeah, they're not much bigger than my fist. They've got little legs, but they're a ground-dwelling bird. If they never have to fly in their life, they wouldn't. Right? They just do that to get away from hawks and owls for the most part, or hunters. What they need is largely herbaceous plant communities. Right? So they need wildflowers. They need a small proportion of grasses. I don't need vast grasslands, right? I need stuff that most people would call weeds. Those are providing good brood cover, good nesting cover, a lot of insects, right? That's what chicks need to develop early.
Bridgestone Firestone is a quail focus
It
or
is.
focal area. So tell us a little bit why.
Yeah, it's largely because there are very few places that have wild quail in the state of Tennessee anymore. And there's dozens of different factors that lead into that, right? Everybody wants to jump right to predators, but it's a habitat issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a landscape change, whether we're talking about development or whether we're talking about fire not being on the landscape anymore, or fields and young forests progressing into closed canopy forest, right? So the farm, just by nature of it being an open landscape that's been maintained that way, has held on to some birds. And compared to most other places in the state, we're one of the very few. On top of that, the potential for growing that population, it's higher here than just about anywhere else.
It is 11:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. On Thursday night, NFL honors were given for the 2023 season. Lamar Jackson winning his second career MVP on a nearly unanimous vote. Browns defensive tackle Myles Garrett took home Defensive Player of the Year. Christian McCaffrey the Offensive Player of the Year. The Houston Texans swept Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year awards with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, while Joe Flacco is the comeback player with Steelers defensive lineman Cam Hayward winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. The 2023 season ends in Vegas on Sunday with Super Bowl 58 between Chiefs and 49ers. Kickoff set for 5:30. Westwood One coverage of the Super Bowl begins right here on The Zone at 1 p.m. In college football news, Boston College has reportedly made its head coaching hire. It is Bill O'Brien. The former Patriots offensive coordinator and Houston Texans head coach had previously accepted a job to be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. He'll take over at Boston College, who had to replace Jeff Hafley, departing to be the defensive coordinator in Green Bay. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour, Super Bowl Friday. We are getting you closer to the weekend, to the final NFL game of the season. Thanks for hanging out with Lucas Panzica and myself. We're happy that you guys choose to spend a bit of your day with us. Coach Dave McGinnis, Titans Radio. He is not at the Super Bowl. He's been hanging around town. Actually, I don't know where Mac is after the Senior Bowl. I would imagine that he, like Mike Keith, would go on vacation and take some time away before we nosedive back into this thing. But Mac is scheduled for his regular appearance at 11:20, so we'll see where in the world Coach Mac is.
I know what he's doing.
What's he doing?
Coach Mac things.
Is there ever a time where he's not doing Coach Mac things?
Don't you think that's what his answer would be when you ask him?
Probably. My question is where. I don't know when he's not doing things. Like, I want Mac to do things for himself every once in a while. You know, he does so many things for other people. He's doing radio shows across the country all day, every week, on top of everything that he does for the team and scouting and all this other stuff, talking to coaches. I hope Mac is taking some time from himself from time to time. I know he loves it. I know, he's a football lifer. But him and Mike Keith, they don't take enough time off. So we'll have Mac here in a second. Super Bowl 58, it's going to feature the same participants, the same franchises as Super Bowl 54 did, if not outright the same participants. Quarterback for the 49ers, different. Patrick Mahomes at a much different stage of his career. So I thought Lucas thought it would be a fun exercise to take a look at the differences between Super Bowl 54, when the Niners and Chiefs last met in this game, and the matchup that's getting ready to play out in front of us. So how do you want to go about this exercise?
Well, first, the biggest differences. So their paths were slightly different. Not so much for San Francisco, was the 1 seed in the NFC in 2019. They were the 1 seed again this season. The Chiefs obviously had to go on the road in the postseason for the first time in the Pat Mahomes era, as opposed to that 2019 season where obviously they host the whole way through, beat the Titans in the AFC Championship game. Quarterbacks, start there. What was the discussion, the legacy discussion, for lack of a better word, between Jimmy G and Pat Mahomes going into that game? Mahomes had yet to win a Super Bowl, and Jimmy Garoppolo, coming over from New England, had brought the Niners to the Super Bowl, also looking for his first. Where were we in that discussion?
The legacy was more about Pat, though in a different version of it, right? Because prior, the discussion was more about the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes getting the Chiefs to this point. They won the Super Bowl that year. Do you happen to remember how long it had been since the Chiefs as a franchise had won a Super Bowl prior to 2019? Because I have it in front of me.
Oh, was it?
Do you want to take a guess?
All the way back to Len Dawson?
50 years is the last time that the Kansas City Chiefs, prior to 2019, had won a Super Bowl. So it was more about, can Patrick Mahomes do this for the Chiefs franchise at the time? Because we were just starting kind of the Mahomes hype in 19. He's drafted into the league in 2017. He sits, other than playing in garbage time or in relief, week 17 for Alex Smith when they had locked up a postseason appearance. 18 is his first full year as a starter, and he is obviously spectacular. He's making ridiculous throws. Patrick Mahomes is a superstar in 19. Or he's a star quarterback. The playoff run that he went on, seeing the first real manifestation of what Pat Mahomes' superhero mode looked like the toe-tapping sideline run by Rashaan Evans to score points before half against the Titans in the AFC Championship game, like the moments that Mahomes now makes routine that we were just starting to familiarize ourselves with. That was the conversation in 2019. The Chiefs are a rocket ship. They're fueled by this unbelievably talented quarterback who's not really playing quarterback at a super refined level yet, but he's so good. Can he be enough? Versus the Niners, I'm not going to say that there was a more even-footed or level discussion between the two, but Garoppolo had really pulled the Niners out of the doldrums. You remember Carlos Hyde, the former Ohio State running back, who was on the Niners at the time? The Niners were terrible when Shanahan first got there. They traded for Jimmy G. I can't remember who it was that they beat in Garoppolo's first start with the Niners. But I remember Carlos Hyde running around telling everybody that would listen to him, we're going to the Super Bowl next year. They were already out of the playoffs in this Garoppolo start when they had acquired him. But Hyde was talking about the next season. We're going to this. And then, I think Hyde got traded to the Jaguars or something like that.
Yeah,
it was a
Hyde was not
experience.
on that 2019 team.
But either way, Garoppolo was looked at as the more known commodity. Mahomes was the thing that was exciting, was new, was revelatory, where Jimmy was stable. He's Shanahan's guy. He's not the flashiest, but he's going to do the things that Kyle Shanahan wants him to do. He's going to make the throws where Kyle Shanahan tells him to make them. And that's how the Niners, as a solid, dependable force, great defense, great skill position players, still a lot of the same discussion. Because remember, Debo is a rookie on this team.
I think I said the Chiefs were the 1 seed. They were not. That's incorrect. Of course, it was the Ravens because the Titans
in 19,
knocked them off in Baltimore.
Sorry, I missed
Chiefs
that.
were the 2. The run game, drastically different for both teams. No McCaffrey with the San Francisco 49ers. Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman made up the running back depth chart in San Fran. And in Kansas City, it's fun going back and looking at this game because you're like, oh, right, LaShawn McCoy was on that Chiefs team.
Right. Shady.
Damian Williams and Darrell Williams. Damian had a massive day in the Super Bowl, 104 yards, had the touchdown. So the run game's completely different as opposed to this version where a lot of the Niners offense runs through McCaffrey in the run game in a different way, while with the Chiefs, it feels similar, right? Like Isaiah Pacheco has kind of come into that Damian Williams type of role, and he's excelled at it.
Yeah, Damian Williams felt like more of a, and maybe this is revisionist history, but I remember Damian Williams being more of an anomaly a little bit than Pacheco. Pacheco's been doing this for a couple of seasons now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's his second season.
But he's been doing it consistently. And Damian Williams was just kind of like Damian Williams was the case against the running back, right? Oh, the Chiefs can just find any running back to plug into their system and win a Super Bowl because he's Damian Williams.
I think Pacheco continues to be that. What
Sure.
is he, a 7th-round pick at a Rutgers?
I want to say he's a 6th-round pick. But
day
either
3.
way, day 3. He was so it is there are a lot of personnel differences, but I don't think that the storylines are that dissimilar.
Well, Travis Kelce obviously drives a lot of the story about this Super Bowl for reasons outside of football.
Sure.
In 2019, he was Kansas City's leading receiver. Tyreek Hill was on the roster. But Sammy Watkins had more yards than any Chiefs player in 2019 in the postseason. And in the Super Bowl, he caught 5 passes for 98 yards. Tyreek Hill caught 9 passes for 105 yards. Travis Kelce caught 6 passes for 43 yards and a touchdown. Rashee Rice, as much as we've talked about the Chiefs' wide receiver woes, I do think Rashee Rice has flown under the radar in that discussion because he's had a really nice season. the rookie out of SMU.
I don't think he's flown under the radar for Chiefs fans. I think Chiefs fans are keenly aware that that's their best wide receiver, and if anything, they're frustrated that they weren't getting him involved more often.
Rashee Rice needs to continue to step up in this game. His last 8, he's averaged 92 yards per contest, 4 touchdowns total. Kelsey obviously turned it up against Baltimore, but it really comes down to those two in this Super Bowl. There's no Tyreek Hill this time around, and the Chiefs don't need Tyreek Hill to win a Super Bowl. They showed us that last year. But Rashee Rice, kind of an underlying storyline in this game that I feel like hasn't quite been talked about with how much is around the Travis Kelce discussion and how the entire offense has to be funneled through him. I would not be shocked if Rashee Rice ends the day with more receiving yards than Travis Kelce on Sunday. Like, would you be blown away if that was the case?
Yes.
You'd be blown away.
Blown away?
You'd just be totally shocked.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Because apart from the AFC Championship, that's been the case for the majority of the latter part of the season.
Yeah, but he's done this intentionally. The way that they have ramped Travis Kelce up is intentional. Like, he's playing differently in the postseason than he was in the regular season. He's relishing contact. Sure. He's playing through hits. He wasn't doing that.
No, there's a no holds barred about it.
So would I be completely blown away? No, because I think the Super Bowl is unpredictable for reasons like this. Super Bowls are different. I would prefer them be that way. I would rather Rashee Rice be a talking point than just the same old Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes are the best ever, la-di-da.
I mean, every Chiefs Super Bowl, we have something like this. We have Sammy Watkins leading them in receiving, Isaiah Pacheco and how he played in the Super Bowl last year. Who's going to be that guy this year? I think it could be
Rice.
Rashee Rice.
Feels safe. Who was that tight end that they had last year that was making all kinds of plays that people found revelatory that wasn't Kelce? I'm blanking on it because they were running a bunch of 3 tight end sets last year. And he was
Blake Bell?
No, I don't think it was Blake Bell. I'll look it up here in just a second. Why don't I take a phone call? Ryan Gallatin is up next, and I'll look up who that tight end is. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, I was right on Will Levis, and I believe next year I'll be more right. And I truly believe that. But I was wrong on C.J. Stroud. I mean, I thought he'd be good. You never know. But in a side note, I know where Colin Cowherd is getting his Titans information. He said on Tuesday he was texting with Vrabel. And he said it was not Will Levis's Vrabel's fault. Will Levis didn't get him promised land.
I'm sorry, say that last part again. You broke up a little bit. It's not Vrabel's fault. What?
That Will Levis could not get him to the promised land.
Could not get him to the promised land.
So Vrabel's using Colin Cowherd, a national show, to promote his side of the story.
I mean, okay. I'm not. I haven't heard the Cowherd thing.
I haven't either.
I don't.
That would be interesting. That the rookie quarterback couldn't get you to the promised land.
I mean, listen. Cowherd. Colin has a very specific way of doing things, let's say. So I don't know. Without hearing it myself, I don't want to comment on it.
Is Noah Gray the tight end?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Blake Bell has been on the Chiefs roster for the last 2 years as well.
Yeah.
By the way, looking through this, Terrell Suggs a member of that Chiefs team.
No, I know.
In Super Bowl 54. I had totally forgotten that.
You forgot?
I had totally forgotten. Had a couple tackles, a QB hit.
Oh, he was Dwight Freeneying it at the end. You remember Dwight Freeney's Seahawks career?
Yes.
Like Cam Wake as a Titan?
Yeah, right.
It's
similar vibes.
Right.
Really,
Justin Houston as a Colt.
The big similarity is both of those defenses in Super Bowl 54 were top 10. I mean, those were good defenses. Feels like we're dealing with 2 elite NFL defenses in this Super Bowl.
Well, no, the Niners are not an elite defense.
Not a top 3 defense in the NFL?
They are not an elite defense. Their front, Lucas, if you go back, I think this is a fun discussion. Why don't we have this coming up next? Oh, well, Coach Mack is going to be here. And, well, this is a great time to talk to Mack because what I think, Lucas, the Niners are a box score defense. The Niners are T.J. Watt, and the Chiefs are Myles Garrett. And I'll explain what I mean by that here in just a second. Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is always good to make some time for us on Fridays. He's here with us on behalf of Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people, quality American-made Ford vehicles, and award-winning customer service is what they offer you. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Hey, Mac, happy Friday.
Buck, how you doing, man? You and Lucas doing good?
We're surviving, if not thriving. Just trying to get through another day, keep our head down, go about our jobs. We're doing good. Yep. We're doing good around here.
Y'all are doing just fine. I've been doing a lot of interviews out there on Radio Row, and it's pretty interesting. Most people have something to sell. The only thing that I have to sell is Two Rivers Ford, which I will sell to the max. Other than that, just talking ball.
That's exactly right. So where are you? Are you home? Are you taking it easy? I know, I would have imagined you would have gone on a little bit of a fake vacation after Senior Bowl, Mac.
No, I got back, and I got several speaking engagements that I have booked after the season is over, and so I try to work those around the Senior Bowl, work those around what's going on, at the combine. And so, no, I've been in town. I've done a couple of speaking engagements since the Senior Bowl, and then just doing some Coach Mack stuff. I get invited on plenty of trips, more trips than I can take. So people are taking care of Coach Mack, I promise you.
There's no doubt about it. Well, some things you have to protect at all costs. Coach Mack is one of them. So let's talk some ball. Niners-Chiefs rematch from Super Bowl 54. Different looking teams, maybe stylistically different approaches, even if a lot of the parts, a lot of the pieces, a lot of the coaching staff is still the same, Mac. I am so curious, though, about how this Chiefs offense is going to look against the Niners defense. Lucas and I were talking about this. The Niners up front are not what I am accustomed to seeing, Mac. It felt like they have gotten moved off the line of scrimmage more often than I am used to for as much talent as they have up front and for what I typically associate a San Francisco 49ers defensive front to be.
No, they're both good defenses, and you don't get to this point without playing good defense, but they're both, the thing that's interesting about both of these defenses, and of course, Spags and Steve Wilkes, both of those guys are excellent veteran defensive coordinators. But the thing that's interesting is they're matched up against two offenses that are run by the head coaches. The plays are called by the head coaches, and so that makes it a very, very interesting matchup. And the biggest thing about both of these offenses that you're going to have to do as a defensive coordinator is, and I'm sure these guys have worked on it, and I know they have, both offenses use so much pre-snap motion. And I'm talking about a lot of varied and different types of motion, Buck, where you can start with a yo-yo motion, which is back and forth, shifting personnel, using the ghost motion back behind, off of the reverse ghost motion behind the quarterback, off of the RPO looks, all of those types of things to get you outmaneuvered. And so the best defensive coordinators that play these two types of offenses, that as a defensive coordinator, when I used to call defenses against the pure West Coast, the thing that you go into it being with your defensive adjustments are you don't ever want to chase a motion. You want to be able to surround the motion. And surrounding the motion is extremely, extremely important. A great example of it was, with Jonathan Gannon when he was the coordinator there at Philly, and Andy came out in the second half and used some reverse ghost motion for 2 touchdowns in the red zone that they never adjusted to. Well, you can't chase that type of motion. You've got to be able to surround it out in the field and down on the goal line. And so I think that's going to be the interesting matchup to me. Both defenses are good enough to win a Super Bowl. I promise you that.
The way that the Chiefs, I don't want to say struggled because they still won the AFC West. They still won their division. They're still in the Super Bowl and are playing football at a high level. But the way that their skill position players have kind of leveled out a little bit, Mac, where MVS is being a more reliable downfield target, where Travis Kelce looks to be a closer version of himself than the one that we saw towards the end of the regular season. And I understand that these guys, Mac, they have played so much football at this point, sustaining through these regular seasons and through the postseasons as often as Kansas City has played. It takes a toll on your mental, your physical, your emotional, all of it. But to see them kind of ramping up at the right time makes you feel that Kansas City is always a threat, but they are as threatening now as they have been at any point in the regular season.
Yeah, well, to your point, Buck. First of all, there's 30 other teams that would like to struggle like these two teams.
Sure.
Then that's a major point because it's a survival mode to get to this point, and you're going to have ups and downs. It's hard in this league, especially now with 17 ball games to be able to be at your peak every week, but you have to be at least good enough to get it over the top in some of these close games, which they're all going to be. I mean, it's pretty much evened out. And so, to your point, and yes, I mean, this is a time, and there is something to it. All the playoff teams I've been involved with, you can feel a lift in everything. I mean, your injuries tend to get better quicker. The hurts don't hurt as bad because, I mean, there's a huge adrenaline push to this. There really is when you start talking about the human aspect of it. But both of these football teams have had their moments where they valleyed out a little bit during the season, but their rosters were good enough, and both of their quarterbacks have been good enough to be able to take them through some of those valleys. So these are two really good teams. This is an interesting matchup. And as I say, the thing that interests me a lot when I start breaking this down and, talking on all the shows that I am talking on is the point that you got, the offenses are run by the head coaches, and both head coaches are calling these plays too. So to me, of course, with my background, and I empathize a lot with defensive coordinators when they're going up against offenses like this and play callers like this. I'm very interested to see both of their adjustments during the ball game. Not just are they lining up in a 4 or 5 man line. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see the adjustments to what these offenses are going to present because they're going to have some wrinkles for them.
Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is here breaking down Super Bowl 58 with us, courtesy of Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
Coach, Brock Purdy's obviously been a hot talking point this week. If he can lift the Niners in this game, ahead of this chess match between Shanahan and Spagnuolo, kind of what do you expect Spags to throw at the Niners and how Purdy might handle that given his strengths?
Well, I mean, that's one of Purdy's strengths is being able to handle, all the mental gymnastics that you're going through. That's why he's the quarterback. I mean, and that's why Kyle Shanahan has him as his quarterback, first of all, because he can handle not only the mental gymnastics of what the offense is, but also the mental gymnastics going against matching up what you're doing offensively with what you're being presented defensively. Spags will give him a lot of different looks. And it's going to be up to not only Purdy, it's going to be up to the offensive line. They're going to have to change protections, pre and post snap. I mean, that's going to be something that's going to be you're going to have to look at and see because, I mean, just knowing Spags and seeing what he does, you're going to see some 6-man line. You're going to see some mug linebackers. You're going to see a lot of bogeying or disguising back there in the back end. That has been Purdy's strength. And as I said, that's why he's basically been the starting quarterback and moving his way up through that offense with a head coach that is very, very intent on his quarterback being able to be a representative of him out there on the field with his thought process, with what defenses are showing them. So that, as I say, to me, Lucas, that's something that's going to be very, very interesting to me to watch this ball game.
As you mentioned, 30 other teams, 30 other coaches would love to be in this situation, no matter how much more football or how much more hurt or all these other things that you have to go through to get to the ultimate game here for professional football. But the two coaches that are going to be at the forefront of this thing, Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, Mac, their respective contributions to the game and how much they have mattered. Shanahan as a legacy and creating his own legacy as the head coach of the Niners, not just what he was doing or what his dad had done and what he had done working with his dad. And Andy Reid having done this with two different franchises that matter and done it at a high level, Super Bowl championship level.
Well, yeah, but both of these guys are as you say, branches of trees that that go back. That go back all the way to Bill Walsh. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah. All of that stuff is. And of course, Kyle Shanahan, but, Mike Shanahan was with the 49ers for a lot of years. So, and Andy Reid, all of these guys that have come, but each and every one of them have taken their own separate paths as far as the different bends that they've put on these offenses. But yes, and I mean, and again, both of these guys, and I can, remember when they both got their head jobs, they came into it and said, "I'm calling the plays." I'm calling the plays. Andy Reid was a tight end coach when he had his first opportunity to be a head coach and call the plays because that's what they learned from their mentors. I mean, that's what they learned from Mike Shanahan. That's what they learned, from Bill Walsh, and that's the way that they were brought up. And then they have taken that lesson and all those lessons that you can get, which believe me, you can get a lot from veteran coaches in this league. I was a very young coach in this league at one time, and I owe everything to those veteran coaches. You take a lot from that, and then you kind of you develop it, and you get good players, and that's the way you're fortunate enough to be in these games.
So, Coach, as Brian Callahan gets ready to start to do that in his career here in Tennessee, what is the biggest challenge in your mind in taking on that first-time head coach role and adding first-time play caller to it?
Well, I mean, it's just it's your time management, and it's also being able to delegate. Delegate your time management. You think he's a very, very bright guy. I mean, I remember when I was a young guy and took over. There's things. I mean, he's been in the league 14 years, and then he's had great mentorship since he's been in the league. But until you're that dude sitting in that chair, I've said it before. Use the analogy: as soon as everything's over with and all the confetti comes down, and then they shake your hand for the last time and then shut that door, and all of a sudden you're in there, and everything that knocks on that door is not the, hey, Coach Mack, just checking in on you. You're doing a hell of a job. That's never it. When you get a knock on the door as a head coach of something as big as a National Football League team. Time management, delegation, and then just being able to stay true to yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. Just be yourself. He's putting a really good staff around him. I think his dad being here is a huge, huge get, for him, for a lot of different reasons. So, yeah. I mean, he's more than ready for it, but it's a challenge. I mean, it's about like when they first put you behind a microphone.
It was bad.
Yeah. We don't talk about that, Mac. We don't talk about what it was like when they first put us on the air. It was very, very tough for both of us.
You got to talk about it because both of you got big jobs at young ages and came in and they said, here's a microphone, and they turned it on, the red light comes on, and okay, you're gone. Well, you've gotten better at it. So let's go.
It depends on who you ask. Coach Mack is here with us on 104.5 The Zone talking some ball. What's your favorite Super Bowl, Mac, that you've ever watched?
Well, my favorite Super Bowl ever that I watched in person.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back. Look, I go back a long ways with Super Bowls. When I was when I got through playing at TCU, I went to school, with a guy named Alan Lowry and Lyle Blackwood and of course Bobby Lane was Alan's dad. So the Super Bowl that I really remember, and I loved it because I had no idea how cool it could be, is we all kind of went as a group, and you can imagine how that was. This is 1974 to Rice Stadium.
Oh.
The game started at 3:50 in the afternoon. We went to Rice Stadium to watch the Vikings and the Dolphins. And Larry Zonka ran for about 150 yards, I think. And just that whole thing, I was going, wow, hell, if I could ever coach in something, just in this league, it would be great. That's an indelible memory in my mind.
That's why I asked, because, you never know how people are going to answer those questions. Lucas and I immediately defaulted to, games that we had watched on television and, Super Bowl moments of impact. But that particular football memory for you and what it kind of set off as you started your football career, it's cool to hear that perspective. Coach Dave McGinnis,
they had a Super Bowl at Rice Stadium in Houston, Texas. Think of that.
There's no way you couldn't go. I mean, this is unavoidable.
That started at 3:50 in the afternoon.
What the hell is that? 3:50 in the afternoon? You're stuck in rush hour traffic trying to go to the Super Bowl.
A little Super Bowl matinee.
Super Bowl matinee. There you go, Lucas. Yeah, look it up. Coach Mack was there.
This is the Blue Hair Special Super Bowl. Coach Dave McGinnis.
Coach Mack was there, and everybody was excited about it.
Yeah, listen, I believe that. From the moment that Coach Mack stepped foot onto God's green earth, I believe the people were excited about his presence. Mack, we appreciate your time as always. Check out the Official Titans podcast. They talk to Chad Brinker. They talk to Rand Carthon. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff in the offseason, daily updates from the Senior Bowl, and getting you ready for this upcoming NFL draft. It's going to be a big one for Tennessee, and Mac and the crew have it covered. Thank you, buddy. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the game. See you guys.
That's Coach Mack. Legend. 1970s at a Super Bowl at Rice Stadium in Houston, Texas.
Oh, they were having them at Tulane Stadium routinely. The NFL's Twitter account has got this thread of a Super Bowl poster for every Super Bowl.
Oh, really?
That kind of encapsulates the story of that Super Bowl.
Recently they've done this?
Yes, it's really. I got into a rabbit hole with it yesterday.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's cool.
Awesome. Well, and that Mac was a part, has those memories, as he said, indelible memories that helped start his football career. I mean, I'm sure there's a great many things that helped start Coach Dave McGinnis's football career, but I don't know. It's just awesome to hear that perspective. 615-737-1045 is the number. Don't worry. We haven't forgot about our regularly scheduled Super Bowl Radio Row coverage. Alan Kirby will join us next. It's Friday Fire. Welcome back to the show. We continue our exhaustive Super Bowl 58 coverage the way that only this show can. We have not committed to getting, Joe Buck and Troy. Well, they're not calling the Super Bowl. Who is it? Romo and Nance this weekend?
Correct.
Romo and Nance. We have not committed to tracking down Jim Nance or Tony Romo, even though Jim Nance listens to this radio station, so that might have been pretty easy. We have not sought out Lee Steinberg, Patrick Mahomes' agent, who God knows what Lee is out there selling beyond just his clients and things like that. No, we refuse. We will not capitulate. The only Super Bowl coverage that we will do involves our Radio Row correspondent, Kirby Allen Kirby, with the Kirby Report. Hi, Kirby.
Hey, bud.
How we doing? Are we surviving? Are we thriving? What's the status out there?
Well, the throng and mass of the fans and the rest of the media have shown up, and the place is like kicked over an anthill as normal. But hey, true to form, buddy. Something happened last night. Ended up hanging out with a camel, Brock Lesnar, and all of the FHM supermodels. Kind of unexpected, but true to form, the Curb, again in third person, left his stamp on this city.
Okay, so this sounds like a bad joke, like a camel, Kirby Allen Kirby, Brock Lesnar, and some H&M models walk into a bar. How did this come to pass? What were the results? What was the level of interaction? Why were all four of these parties in the same place together?
I'm tweeting out pictures as we speak.
Okay, very good.
Well, I was getting ready to go to the Horseshoe, and I was got a text and said, hey, we're having dinner over here at the sports book. You want to come over? And I'm like, well, okay, I could walk over there. And then I go like, hey, we're going to go to a party. Get here. We're leaving at 9 sharp. So I do. We ended up at the Sahara, getting slid into the VIP section of the FHM supermodel shoot. I sent some pictures to Luke. And, just a room full of the ladies that grace the pages of those publications, and a lot of celebrities and so forth, VIPs, not myself included. And again, we're looking at each other, and he goes, Kirby, how the hell do you do this all the time? I'm like, I have no idea, man.
I agree.
Matt, who's a good friend was a listener to the show, big fan of the old Kirby segment we used to do, and he reached out and wanted me to go, and so I was with them and a couple of other folks from the Nashville area, and one thing led to another. I'm hanging out with Brock Lesnar.
Nice guy.
Doing shots of tequila in this place and hanging out next to a camel. It was an interesting night.
Okay, well, this is how these go. So are you prepared? Do you have your notebook? We did this during training camp, the 5 things that Kirby Allen Kirby learned at the end of every broadcast that we did together. You're out at Super Bowl. Do you have 5 things prepared?
Oh, I have 5 things prepared.
All right, now don't do it. Don't start with number 1. Give me some build-up. Start with number 5. What's the 5th best thing Kirby Allen Kirby learned this week in Vegas?
Well, that the weather does improve if you're just patient. And the city isn't as bad as I thought after the first impression. So I'm going to give it a call.
All right, so that's 5. What's 4?
4 is there are more fabulous places to eat within a 6-minute walk of our hotel than you could find in the city of Nashville.
What's the best meal that you had in Vegas?
Oh, I had Chinese at a joint up next to Gordon Ramsay or whoever that one of those celebrity chefs has a burger joint, and it's just down the street from that. And it was fantastic. But what blew my mind was as I was getting my food, she asked if I would like an apple spring roll. Didn't know what that was. I said, yeah, give it. Yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot. They were these little delicate, like apple pies, but stuffed in the wrapping of a spring roll, and 2 of them were almost overdose level. They were fantastic, and I could live just out back of that place just to smell that food cooking every day.
Lucas has made no. He doesn't get 2. He doesn't get 2 moments of fanfare for his Chinese food dinner.
It's a great answer to the best food in Vegas. Yeah, Gordon Ramsay's got a burger joint right next to it, there's a Chinese
the
place.
little Chinese shack
Yeah.
next to that. That's where we're going for dinner. Kirby Allen, Kirby, true to form. The third biggest thing, the third most important observation from Vegas.
Liquor flows freely, and if you know the right people, you don't have to pay for it.
That's actually a really good one. That's the one thing that not enough people know about Vegas is there is liquor everywhere. It's just, are you smart enough to avoid, paying $500 for a fifth of Jack Daniels?
Unlike at St. Elmo's in Indianapolis.
Yeah, well, there's that.
My expense report's going to basically be getting back and forth from the hotel. The food cost of this trip was nil. I mean, I bet I shelled out of my pocket less than $30 for the entire week to eat.
That's absurd. That's just wrong. It's just wrong. The fact that, not that you have to have, not that expensive dinners have to be the best dinners, but the fact that you didn't go one place that was beyond your Chinese food, apple spring roll is something that I have to deal with you at a later date. The second most important thing that Kirby Allen Kirby learned in Vegas.
Don't rely on the tram system. Now, I have learned to navigate the city fairly quickly on foot because the trams will just shut down at a stop that you're not expecting, and then you're on foot for the next 3 blocks. And with a little practice, you can get from one end of the town to the other in less than a half hour, but you have to push some people out of your way to do it. And, hey, whatever needs to be done to get there.
Wait, is this your first time in Vegas, Kirby?
First time on the ground.
What?
Spent a couple of hours in the airport on layovers and
I'm
stuff.
so shocked.
Kirby, you've never been to Las Vegas? To do something?
No. Nope.
All right.
I'm a simple man.
Yeah, that's fine. But even, I know plenty of simple men that go to Vegas.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah,
most of the simplest men I know often go to Vegas.
Yeah.
All right, and now for the moment of triumph, the culmination of all of our hard work, all of our exhaustive Super Bowl 58 Radio Row coverage, courtesy of the Kirby Allen Kirby Report. The most important thing that Kirby learned this week in Vegas is?
Most important thing is just do what you want to do, and nobody cares, and have fun. This town is it's way more open than L.A. or any place we've ever been. And they call this place the Sin City. They are not kidding. And I watched and I looked and I, was a witness to some stuff. And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
No, Kirby, you can't say that you were a witness. Somebody's going to track you down if you witnessed something that you shouldn't have witnessed.
That could be such a wide range of things.
I didn't necessarily say I shouldn't have witnessed. I just said I was witness to. And the fact that Brock Lesnar knew my name, I'm like, there are people in Vegas, I've never been here before, and they knew who I was. And that is, that's one of those things that's Twilight Zone stuff.
Well, I'm sure Lesnar heard the rant that you gave on our radio show about John Cena apologizing to the Chinese. I'm sure he's intimately familiar with that rant. Kirby Allen Kirby, true to form, always diligent in his work. He's done an excellent job keeping everything in Vegas afloat all week long. Buddy, thank you for the coverage. I hope that you get some more time to enjoy Vegas before you leave, although 3 days is more than most sane people commit to this. I can't imagine what everybody looks like on Friday of Radio Row in Las Vegas.
Oh, there's a lot of under eye bags and 3-4 days growth of beards. Oh my God, they're walking past me with some honey sesame chicken.
Okay, quickly, go get more Chinese food. We don't want to hold you up anymore. Quickly, go get your Panda Express meal.
See ya.
He's probably talking about Hell's Kitchen. The Gordon Ramsay, the show and
I thought you were talking about the Chinese food because the chat is alleging that Kirby went to Panda Express for the first time.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like the Gordon Ramsay place he's talking about, I bet it's Hell's Kitchen, and I bet he went to the Panda next door.
I think he went to a Panda Express. Kirby Allen Kirby traveled across the country. How many Kirby's done as many damn Super Bowls as Coach Mack at this point. How many Super Bowls has Kirby been to? And his biggest revelation was the apple dumpling spring rolls at Panda Express.
Well, it's a tough city to do that segment on because he can't relay a lot of the things that he witnessed in Vegas.
He can. He just may be held, culpable for them after the fact. And by the way, all of the things that may not be legal here are legal there. Like Kirby can stroll into a MedMen, buy a bunch of weed, it not be legal in the state of Tennessee, and it'd be perfectly legal in Las Vegas.
The most shocking thing is that this is his first time boots on the ground in Vegas.
But Vegas is such a not Kirby place. Like, you would think it would be a very Kirby place because Kirby looks like every creature that you've ever seen crawling out of a sad, sad casino for sure. But Vegas is too extra for Kirby. Like, Kirby is the kind of gambler that you would see at, what's the one up the road from us in Kentucky?
Oh, Mint
Gaming Hall?
Gaming Hall?
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
no, Kirby's not a bells and whistles.
Or the boat in Evansville.
Yeah.
The boat in Evansville, Indiana. The only reason that Evansville, Indiana is on the map anywhere because it's legal gambling.
Not a bells and whistles guy.
No. So Vegas, not really a Kirby Allen Kirby spot, but that is funny. He's 60 and he's never been to Las Vegas. That's crazy. Anyway, final hour coming up next. Speaking of the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, there's a bunch of Tennessee ties all over the place. Which will have the greatest impact? We'll talk about it next.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The 2023 NFL season ends in Vegas on Sunday. It's Super Bowl 58 between Chiefs and 49ers. Kickoff is at 5:30. Westwood One coverage of the Super Bowl is right here on The Zone starting at 1 p.m. In other NFL news, the league announced today it'll play the first ever game in Spain in the city of Madrid in the 2025 season. College basketball, the Tennessee Vols on the road on Saturday at Texas A&M. It is a 7 p.m. tip-off. Catch the Vol Network call here on The Zone. And the Nashville Predators are back after the All-Star break. They host the Arizona Coyotes, a 7 p.m. puck drop at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday night. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour on this Friday, final hour of the football season for the radio show. That is just a level of depressing that I'm not prepared to cope with just yet. I feel like the week between conference championships and Super Bowl kind of gets you ready, kind of mentally prepares you to turn on the TV and see stuff like NFL honors or the Pro Bowl or just this. I mean, college basketball is certainly entertaining, and I enjoy college basketball, the NBA and stuff like that, but it's not football. It's just not football. So we'll get through it together. One more game to go, Super Bowl 58 this weekend. The level or the amount of state of Tennessee ties in this Super Bowl is crazy. And I'm not just talking about dudes like Sam O or Matt Dickerson, former Titans who landed on the Chiefs or Niners practice squads, respectively. Because I did see our buddy Jim Wyatt, and speaking of which, Jimmy is today's guest co-host on the 615 sessions. He is out in Vegas, so we'll have Wyatt right after we wrap up the radio show today. We'll do that on the A to Z Sports streaming platform. Wyatt caught up with Matt Dickerson. He caught up with Sam O, guys like that who have been members of the Titans and now find themselves on the Super Bowl roster. Did you have any idea that Logan Ryan was a 49er until Jim Wyatt spoke with him at the Super Bowl?
Logan Ryan's very recognizable. I did not know that, to answer your question. But guys like Matt Dickerson, nobody recognizes people better than Jim Wyatt.
I covered Matt Dickerson for the short time that he was here. He was here for about 3 seasons, and I barely remembered what Matt Dickerson looked like until Jimmy Wyatt posted a video of him and said, "This is Matt Dickerson." I said, "Oh."
I bet you couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
Well, I mean, I definitely could pick him out of a lineup, Lucas, because he's a giant. He's a defensive end. So
what if he was in a lineup with other giants?
Well, that's the thing about Super Bowl media night. He's not in a lineup. There's just random giants walking around that aren't special enough to be put on the podiums. So you do tend to know which ones are the football players and which ones are the, probably unshaven, unkept media members. The ones basically not wearing Spider-Man costumes or ballerina outfits while interviewing people with I can't get over the broken hockey stick bit that I saw where somebody taped a microphone, wrapped a cord around a broken hockey stick, and was using it as a means to reach over other media members at Super Bowl media night.
So there are 7 players from Tennessee universities playing or on rosters that are participating in Super Bowl 58.
All right, before you list the universities.
I was going to see how many you could name.
Okay, let's do that. Middle, Tennessee, so MTSU, UTK, UT Knoxville. Is there a Vanderbilt? Oren Burks is there.
Yep. That's it. Those are the 3 schools.
Those are the 3.
Yes. How many of the middle?
There's always a UT chat that sneaks through there sometimes.
No, this year it's those 3. How many of the Middle Tennessee State representatives can you name?
Middle Tennessee State representatives. Well, Charvarius Ward, the corner, because he's played for both of those franchises. He's more recently a Niner.
Yeah.
So from all 3 universities, you want me to name these players? Well, the easy one's Trey Smith and Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, those, and you already named Oren Burks.
Yeah.
So there are 4 MTSU players. How many can you name? You already named Charvarius Ward.
Richie James.
There you go. You'll have a hard time with the others.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get the other two. One's a linebacker, right?
Yeah, Chiefs linebacker Darius Harris and Chiefs tight end Isaiah Gathings. I hope I'm saying his name correct.
Yeah, apologies. I knew the linebacker, or I know of the linebacker. I'm unfamiliar with the tight end.
So which one will have the biggest impact?
All right, so Trey Smith is a tough one to just remove because he's a starting guard for the most important quarterback in this game. But it's tough for a guard to individually impact the game more than a wide receiver. So we'll put Trey Smith out of the running here.
Because I can make an argument Trey Smith will impact the game more than Juwan Jennings.
Would you? Well, because Debo's playing and the Niners have their full complement of skill position players, Juwan, because I'm not saying Juwan necessarily, but I do think it's inherent, like by percentage. You have a better chance, even if it's a wide receiver on a smaller snap count than a guard who's going to play 100% of the snaps if he's healthy. You just have a harder time by percentage getting a game-changing play made by a guard versus a wide receiver, yeah? I'm gonna put my money on Ward, okay? I think that in this game, how much are we relying on the Chiefs' skill position players to revert, or relying is the wrong word. What's more likely to happen here? MVS is playoff MVS or MVS is regular season MVS? In the biggest game of the year, as a skill position player, the wide receiver, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. MVS, who famously is dropping all kinds of passes. Now, I will say, since they made Kadarius Toney a healthy scratch, they're a more consistent unit. But I think that I feel better. Oh, my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I feel like I feel better about the Niners' defense against the Chiefs' offense than I have any right to. I mean, I know the Niners are favored in this game. I know they're 2-point favorites, and technically Kansas City is the home team. But I can't get myself to trust the wide receivers for the Chiefs when there's such a smaller sample size of them letting this team down. And the Chiefs have overcome it.
I think they're going to overcome it. I think some wide receivers are going to make some plays for the Chiefs that maybe that we don't expect, or Rashee Rice just continues to play well.
Well, you brought up Rice. And he's a factor here. Kelce, I don't go into the Super Bowl expecting Travis Kelce to play poorly, right? Travis Kelce may not be all-pro level Travis Kelce, and he may not be 100 yards receiving against the Ravens. But Travis Kelce is going to be a factor in some form or fashion.
Juwan Jennings has just been popping up in various moments for the Niners all season.
Yeah, but he's done that his entire career as a pro. Right, there are moments where Juwan Jennings, and maybe we notice them more because we're more inclined to pay attention when Juwan Jennings makes a play.
And he did it in the playoffs. He did it against Green Bay, 6 catches, 61 yards. But he's kind of turned into this sort of X factor for the Niners. And Debo health has certainly, has maybe had something to do with it. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to look at his career. And yeah, his career high was last season. So you're right. I mean, he had almost twice as many yards last season as he has this season.
He pops up in moments, and he's not one of their best wide receivers. So I think by percentage, because I'm not going to pick Trey Smith, even though Patrick Mahomes knows this better than most. He lost the Super Bowl because his offensive line was in tatters.
That's what I'm saying. I think Trey Smith is more likely to have an impact on the game as a whole than Juwan Jennings making a couple, unless Juwan Jennings makes a touchdown catch.
That's why I'm not going Juwan Jennings. That's why I'm going
Ward.
That's why I'm going Ward. Because a bad guard can wreck a game plan. For sure. Mahomes lost the Super Bowl in 2020 to Brady, not just because he was outdueled by Brady, but because they had him in a tailspin the entire time. He was making plays he had no business making. There were drops. It was a terrible, terrible Super Bowl for the Chiefs. Now, if Trey Smith is out here just one-on-one stonewalling dudes, and that's highlighted by Romo and Nance on every play, and we're talking about it, then I'm going to have no choice but to say that. And by the way, Mahomes doesn't take sacks. Have you noticed this?
Yeah, I've noticed that about him.
He does not take sacks ever.
I love that question. Patrick Mahomes is a good football. Have you noticed this? He's a really good football player.
No. There's a difference, Lucas. You can be a good football player and get sacked.
It's always been one of his biggest strengths, yeah, for sure.
But this year feels different. He is avoiding them at a rate that is maddening. But yes, I acknowledge your premise that it is my point. Did you know that Patrick Mahomes is a really, really good football player? Yes, buddy, I did. Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins, have you noticed his catch radius? It's insane.
Hey, there were a lot of people who were down on the Chiefs. Chiefs didn't want DeAndre Hopkins.
Not enough. Yeah,
not enough.
Didn't want him enough to give him what the Titans did. The F&M Bank chat pointing out Jordan Mason as well, a Gallatin native, played college football at Georgia Tech, but a running back for the 49ers.
Whose fans show up the most, Niners or Chiefs? Well, Niners geographically makes the most sense, and that's a national fan base. I mean, Chiefs are too at this point, but I imagine I guess you're not really going to be able to tell because they're both red. It's not a great Super Bowl uniform matchup. It's not my favorite uniform matchup.
You know, Jawan Jennings, out of all of the players in this Super Bowl, out of all the quarterbacks, Jawan Jennings was the highest rated quarterback prospect out of high school. Of any player in this Super Bowl. Higher than Brock Purdy, higher than Pat Mahomes, higher than Blaine Gabbert, higher than Sam.
Blaine, that's who we should have gotten on this week. That's a bad job out of me. I forgot that Titans legend Blaine Gabbert is on the Chiefs roster. We could have gotten Blaine. Damn. He's about to be there's no telling that they're going to win, but Blaine Gabbert already has a Super Bowl ring. It's just crazy to think about. So Middle Tennessee, or I guess the state of Tennessee, impact on this game. By percentage chance, I feel like the Niners corner, Charvarius Ward, is a safe bet for me because he's a starting corner to Jawan Jennings' role player, right? At best, he's a role player. And Trey Smith is a guard, special teamers like the MTSU linebacker that you mentioned. I don't know. Ward feels like a safe bet if I was betting.
I'm saying Smith because I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, and I think they're going to do a lot of it by keeping Mahomes upright and in the run game.
Well, the run game's big.
By default, that, to me, puts it on the offensive line and Trey Smith.
That was kind of my quibble with what you brought up earlier. So statistically, the Niners are a top defense. But they are – I compared them more to T.J. Watt in the Defensive Player of the Year voting than Myles Garrett because there's a lot of stats that make the Niners look better than the defense has actually played. Now, the reality of the situation is they're good enough to be in the Super Bowl, so what the hell does it matter? But where you win in the margins – and, for example, the Niners-Lions game, the Lions are blowing the Niners front seven off the ball. I mean, consistently. Now, the Niners come back.
And Lions have an elite offensive line.
Oh, no, sure. But the Chiefs have this is arguably the best offensive line that's been in front of Mahomes, and they're running the football at a rate that would indicate that they have the ability to get some push up front. Like, these are road-grading offensive linemen that they have here.
Yeah, Chase Young has not had the destructive impact on offenses that we assumed he would when he got moved to San Francisco.
Even guys like Hargrave, who's been such a good player for the Steelers and the Eagles, and I believe was in that Super Bowl. Hargrave might have won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, if I remember correctly. Either way, they have more talent up front than their level of production would indicate. And some of the missed assignments, some of the missed gaps in the run game for the Niners defense kind of raise that red flag to me. So I'm willing to hear Trey Smith as an argument. I just think it's a harder argument to make for the audience. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Do you have thoughts on the Super Bowl? We're not going to make – do you want to make a Super Bowl prediction? I'm not really crazy about that, but we can if you want to. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out by the end of the show whether we want to do that or not. Meanwhile, Will Levis, he spoke for the first time since the Titans hired Brian Callahan. You'll hear from him at the Super Bowl coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Super Bowl week getting ready to wrap up out in Vegas. Will Levis is making some headlines out there, not just because it's the first time that he's commented on his new coach, but apparently predicting flops in celebrity games of poker, apparently winning table tennis tournaments against Trevor Lawrence. I saw Levis finish 6th in the celebrity poker tournament. Do you play poker? I've tried to learn a couple of different times. Actually, I really haven't tried to learn since high school. I feel like a lot of my friends' dads tried to teach us poker at various points, and maybe sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. I don't gamble enough for it to matter. I feel like I would like to learn poker, try to make an honest effort to learn poker again.
I probably have not played poker since high school.
I mean, I would say that's the last time that I have attempted to play poker. But you're not like a real gambling person anyway, are you?
Not really.
Yeah, not me neither. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Will Levis, whether he is or not, he finished 6th in the celebrity poker tournament, but that's not what you care about. What you care about is his thoughts on his new quarterback. Now, before we play this, because this is Jim Wyatt.
On his new head coach, you mean?
What did I say?
You said on his new quarterback.
Okay, on his new head coach. So this is the video from Jim Wyatt's Twitter account, at JWyattSports. It's all of the answers compiled together, right? So it may sound like he's jumping from one topic to the next. Wyatt has put a bunch of these answers into one about minute and a half, 2-minute video.
Yeah, he talks about the reaction to Vrabel getting fired and Brian Callahan.
I mean, it's a business, and there's all these decisions that are made each and every year, and it definitely was surprising, and there was that kind of limbo period of like, what's going to happen to everyone else, like once we hire somebody and all that. So it was definitely a little uncomfortable, just because we have no say in all of it, and a lot of the times we're figuring this stuff out on social media before anyone else even gets the chance to tell us. So it's tough, and we all love playing for Coach Vrabes, but we know Miss Amy and the front office and everybody in the organization has a plan for us, and I know that I'm part of the plan, and for her to think of me and include me in it, it's really special, and makes me want to work even harder for her. Yeah, I was literally getting changed after a workout, and it was the first time I met him, and with his son and his wife, and it was awesome, and I've been able to speak with him a few times since then, and he's keeping me in the loop with all the hires and how excited he is about everyone that we're bringing in on the staff, and looking forward to having the rest of it ironed out, and I think everyone will be in there on Tuesday, it looks like. So getting everyone in there and getting started with the learning of the offense and everything, I'm pumped. Yeah, I mean, he's been able to work with such a great amount of quarterbacks in the short career that he's had, and it gets you excited when you see the track record and you see the stats, and when you start watching the film of just how he's able to run an offense and do it really well at a high level efficiently. So I'm excited to work for him and hopefully be that next guy that people mention, of guys that he's had under his belt. I'm not satisfied. I mean, I know that, we knew that we had the opportunity to win a lot more games than we did, but, you can't fret about those things. All you can do is look at the tape and do what you can to improve on what you want to. I mean, for me, it's one, it's getting healthy, which I'm close to now, which is a great feeling. Having my body feel this way and as good as it has for the first time in 25 weeks or so is really cool. And I'm looking forward to just getting my athleticism back a little bit and getting my legs back and being able to be more 360 player than I was this past year.
So that's Will Levis. A couple of interesting things there to pull from it. So that he mentioned being involved in the process, like Amy involving Will in the process, and that it made him want to work that much harder for her. Now, I don't know the degree that they involved. Like, I don't know if they called Will Levis before they made Brian Callahan's hire and said, hey, Will, this is what we're thinking. Do you have any thoughts before we pull the trigger on this? Or if it was after the fact, hey, Will, this is the direction that we'd like to go in. We think it's going to be for the best interest of you moving forward. We think there's a lot of positive benefits, a lot of things for you to benefit specifically from, and you're going to see how this plays out. Where Callahan is calling Will Levis and keeping him up to date on all the hires and things like that and kind of filling him in throughout the process. And Levis keeps bringing up the idea of working for Amy or working for Callahan. When in reality, this has been brought in here to find one of those more equitable partner relationships between quarterback and coach, it feels like, yeah?
Well, he said not necessarily to be involved in the search, but to be a part of the plan is
that they
special.
have involved him.
And he said, to think of me and include me in it.
Yeah.
In that plan.
So he's not like he was consulted.
Right.
For this and for Levis, he did acknowledge that the news surprised him because the last time we heard from Will Levis on any of this was him going to bat for Vrabel.
Yeah.
And he did bring up, we all loved playing for Coach Vrabes, which is not true. Not all of them loved it. And, he's being a good soldier there, so I'm not going to nitpick his words so much. But that he knows, like this is the offseason where definitively Will Levis knows he is the plan. We might have talked about it in those terms after he was drafted here, but that really didn't materialize until when? Week 8.
Mike Vrabel wouldn't even tell us if he was the backup quarterback for quite some time.
And there are reasons for that, like they don't have to. But like you said, he was third-string quarterback until he wasn't. He didn't go from third to backup to starter. He went from third string to starter. He is going in this year, and it's always, always, always. The reason that a lot of these players take big leaps in their sophomore year, I guess in their second year, as pros, because you don't have to deal with all the, I almost said a bad word, all the crap that rookies have to deal with in the lead-up. You can just be a football player. You don't have to deal with the idea of Will Levis sitting in a draft room. Where was the draft last year? Kansas City?
Yeah.
Sitting in a draft room somewhere in Kansas City with a camera just pointed at you and your face and your girlfriend and your family and all this different stuff, watching you fall through the first round. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to deal with the scrutiny on you about eating. Is a knock that Will Levis takes his coffee with mayonnaise in it or eats bananas with the peel on or all this other nonsense.
While you're trying to get healthy, right, and working out at the combine and doing all of those things.
He is in town. So he's not in town right now, but he has been in town. Like I know, I saw he took a beach vacation and stuff like that. But like Traylon Burks, and this doesn't guarantee results, by the way, because this was the approach that Traylon Burks thought it best to take last year. Stick around Nashville, spend as much time around the coaching staff as humanly possible, spend as much time in the building as humanly possible, and try and be the best version of you. It's what makes the Traylon thing so disappointing, because he did all the right things, and his body let him down again. Will is taking a similar approach. Be around the facility, be around the guys, be around the new coaching staff, learn more from the new coaching staff and again, there are NFL offseason restrictions that forbid too much contact with the players and the coaching staff at this particular point in the calendar. And really until, we start to get to OTAs and voluntary stuff and rookie minicamp and things. But this is going to be such an important offseason for Levis, not just because they're hiring all the things around him, but because indisputably he knows he's the guy. He don't have to worry about that. There's no thought in the back of his head. He's the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis is identified as the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans now, at the end of the season, and heading into the next one. There is a sense of confidence that gives you that can only benefit him right now.
They've just hired the coach that will probably spend the most amount of time with Levis out of anybody, maybe including Brian Callahan.
Yeah, so the quarterback's coach hire yesterday, the interim OC for the Raiders, and his connection with Callahan. I misspoke yesterday. Tyke Tolbert did have time with Callahan on the Denver Broncos coaching staff. I misspoke.
We talked about that when we've quote-unquote vetted Tolbert.
Sure, but I misspoke yesterday, kind of going back through the offensive coaching hires, and I couldn't remember the Denver connection to Tolbert off the top of my head. But Denver is basically where all of these people have crossed paths at some form or another.
Yeah, Hardigree was not there for the Super Bowl. He left. He was with the Bears the year the Broncos won that Super Bowl.
Bo Hardigree, the quarterback's coach, who they've hired.
Yes.
Now, Levis and how he moves forward as a result and the optimism around what Callahan has in store. Again, the quote, he has been able to work with a great amount of quarterbacks, and it gets you excited. This is from Levis. And it gets you excited when you see the track record and you see the stats and you start watching the film of how he is able to run an offense and do it really well at a high level efficiently. So I'm excited to work for him and hopefully be that next guy that people mention of guys that he's had under his belt. So it's not just that Callahan has to get Levis there. Levis has to, as is the case in any year, Levis has to do plenty of this work on his own, and he's got a ton of work to do. So he wasn't even active, right? He dressed, but he wasn't even active for the first 6 games of the NFL season.
Emergency quarterback through London.
So he's dressed out through week 6, which is London, but not technically active for a game. So he gets to run out of the tunnel. He gets to put on his uniform and do all the things, but he's not actually playing or a viable option to play at any point, provided the 2 in front of him get hurt. I read the stat line to start the show. He completed under 60% of his passes, 58.4, just over 1,800 yards, 1,808. 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 84.2. He had a record as a starter of 3-6 in 9 starts. Some of those games he wasn't able to finish because of the injuries.
Ian Rappaport had some notes on Levis's new quarterback coach, Bo Hardegree, that when he took over that Raiders offense as the offensive coordinator under interim coach Antonio Pierce, we know there was an uptick. We know that Aiden O'Connell played well as one of the better rookie backups of 2023. But Rappaport notes the Raiders offense was one of the least penalized in the league and did not commit a single turnover in their last 4 games. And with Hardegree as the play caller, Aiden O'Connell is one of 5 day 3 rookie quarterbacks in NFL history to have 5 or more wins. Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy among the others.
What Vegas and Cincinnati were doing, the thing that you take the most optimism in is that Vegas and Cincinnati did that with less than players. That Aiden O'Connell, a day 3 pick, that Jake Browning, a journeyman, basically. They found a way to put those guys in position to succeed and be the best versions of themselves, despite less than ideal circumstances.
Does the Titans quarterbacks coach have more play calling NFL experience than both the offensive coordinator and play calling head coach?
Well, you know the answer to that question. The answer to that question is yes, because the interim offensive coordinator of the Raiders is now the quarterback's coach. He has been a play caller in the league. Nick Holtz has not, and Brian Callahan is not. Though, here's the thing. This is almost like this is the intangible quality of coaches, of offensive coaches. Or I guess you could say of defensive coaches too. Do you define play calling as a skill, as something that can be taught, as something that is innate, closer to an art form, right? The art of calling plays on an NFL offense. Sure, it can be taught. You can school yourself in down and distance and situational football and all the different ways to take advantage of defenses that you're presented with and things like that, but you can still lack that one thing that makes you a good offensive play caller. The answer is you have to have some level of both, right? You have to be prepared and you have to have the innate sense of when is the correct time to call the shot play and how to play the percentages here. And okay, maybe I listen more to the math in this situation than I do outright with my football gut, however you would describe that. There's no way to determine the perfect marriage of those two things and how they manifest. So we have no idea whether Brian Callahan's going to be who's a bad play calling offensive head coach, who's had a bad time with it. Frank Reich.
This season, yeah.
But it wasn't outright a problem in Indianapolis. Like Frank Reich as a play caller was not regarded as a problem.
The Eagles, it got worse with Nick Sirianni.
Sirianni got worse, okay?
Yeah. Took the duties after Shane Steichen left to be the head coach in Indy.
And Sirianni was a non-play calling offensive coordinator under Reich in Indianapolis. So I don't know if And by the way, Sirianni can get better. That is a situation that can be improved upon. There's nothing to determine that the struggles that Nick Sirianni had last year doing that job are something that he'll have moving forward, though Kellen Moore is going to call the plays there, right? They've taken the play calling, like they have delegated the play calling duties from Sirianni. So basically what you have to determine is where is Brian Callahan, and it almost feels, I feel wrong putting Sirianni on the bottom end of this spectrum, but where is Callahan on a spectrum of play calling from Andy Reid to Nick Sirianni? If we're just going to take modern or current NFL coaches, where Andy Reid is indisputably, or Shanahan or Andy Reid, the two best offensive play calling head coaches in football. Where does Callahan fall on that scale? Is he Kevin O'Connell? Is he good enough? Is he Mike McDaniel? Is he super creative and quirky? None of these things we can determine until we see it in principle and how it plays out in practice. But this is Brian Callahan on the transition of what it is to be a non-play calling offensive coordinator versus a play calling head coach.
Not a big one at all. The way we've worked in Cincinnati, very collaborative. I've been with Zach for 5 years, working with him as the primary play caller and me as the offensive coordinator. I feel really great about the process. Part of that is bringing in great people to help me. And that's a huge part of our next couple weeks is finding those people. Because when you have an offensive staff that you trust and guys do a great job with their areas of expertise, our third down, our red zone, by the time you get to Sunday, the game plan is mainly set. Now where guys earn their stripes is when you have to adjust and adapt mid-flow of a game. And that's where you have to have great people involved in the game plan. But I don't see it as a big adjustment. It's going to be a collaborative approach on offense, and we're going to make sure we get the best plays and put our players in the best position. So I'm excited about that part, and I'm excited to get a good staff put together.
So let's look at it from this standpoint. That's Brian Callahan at his introductory press conference. Lucas, when the quarterback gets to the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 3 with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, do you think he doesn't know the play? Like, do you think that he is waiting for a play that he is not aware of to be called in the headset as he's approaching the line of scrimmage to deliver the message to the huddle and to execute it? The answer is no. Or, excuse me, the answer is yes, he does know that he has, these are my 5 options. These are the 5 plays that we have prepared this week for 3rd and 3 situations with X amount of time to go left in the fourth quarter. So yes, the game plan is done. The quarterback knows what, or has a general sense of what he is going to call or what he is going to run by the time the play call gets to him and they get to the line of scrimmage and they run the play. It's not like Brian Callahan on every snap, or an offensive coordinator of any team on every snap is having to come up with a new play call in real time. These are prepared very meticulously. It's what's on that godforsaken menu or Jimbo Fisher's, multi-spiral notebook that he's got. These are things that they do all during the week, and so that when you're in the game situation, you limit as much opportunity for variance as possible.
I'd be interested in what that dynamic is in San Francisco. Other play calling head coaches, how that dynamic differs from what it was in Cincinnati.
Can you name the offensive coordinator in San Francisco?
I was about to ask you the same thing.
I cannot.
No. Is there one? I don't know that there is one.
Let me just look up this is terrible radio, both of us Googling it.
I don't think. But that's Kyle Shanahan's offense, right? And it was Zach Taylor's offense, but the C word, the collaboration, leading to a conclusion. Now it's Brian Callahan that is coming to that conclusion.
They don't have an offensive coordinator.
Right. So you would figure that process is very different. Now they've got a run game coordinator, Chris Forrester, their offensive line coach is the run game coordinator. Obviously
Wait, Forrester?
He's the
dude from the Dolphins that was doing cocaine in the facility?
Is that him? Is it that Dolphins coach?
With the
I remember what you're talking about.
Oh my God, I hope I play the reckless speculation sound quickly.
No, that's the wrong one. Is Chris Forrester that one?
Wait. Let me look at his career. It just has his background with the Niners. I'm on the 49ers webpage right now.
No, he was on the. Oh yeah, I think it. Yeah,
oh my God,
it's him. Wow.
What a redemption story. Good for that guy.
But that process then, it stands to reason, very different in San Francisco versus what it was in Cincinnati. Brian Callahan clearly is bringing that process to Nashville. He's just the one reaching the ultimate conclusion. You would figure he and Taylor probably got to the same conclusion with that process multiple times. He's just the one with the final say on game day. So I believe him when he says it's not going to be that big a transition. It's probably a bigger transition for someone like Mike McDaniel going from being under Kyle Shanahan to calling plays as a head coach. That's obviously worked well for him.
I am so sorry that I have derailed this conversation the way that we have because we've already gone over, but I'm looking at a New York Post article right now. A model described, ex-Dolphins coach used me as a cocaine platter. So it's... This woman's name is not something that I'm comfortable or that I'm confident pronouncing into a live microphone or whatever, but this is a crazy, crazy story to go back and look at the now.
Hey, he's coaching in a Super Bowl
You know
on Sunday.
what? Comeback player of the year. We found him.
There you go.
It comes full circle. Chris Forrester. Damn Joe Flacco. Damn Baker Mayfield. No DeMar Hamlin. This guy doing lines of coke in Miami off of models and finding his way back into the Super Bowl. Chris Forrester, you are the Buck Rising Show 2023 Comeback Person of the Year. Bravo. Last call for phone calls next. End of the week. Been a fun one. Thank you guys for hanging out as always. Thanks for making this football season as, I want to say, fun as it was. It wasn't fun for a lot of you guys. I understand that your football team down bad and that we're just trying to help you soldier through it, but at least we did it together, right? We survived. On to the next. We can turn the page as of Monday morning.
Blaine and Mickey have Neil O'Donnell and Javon Curse, by the way, on the show today coming up.
Not bad. So you can listen to that coming up after us. Blaine and Mickey taking the Super Bowl week assignment a little more seriously than Lucas and I did. That's fine. So, news from Adam Sparks of the Knoxville News-Sentinel. He's, of course, been reporting on this lawsuit between the state of Tennessee, the state of Virginia, and the NCAA. He broke 6 minutes ago that Josh Heupel is now joining the state of Tennessee's fight against the NCAA in federal court. Heupel says that NIL harms are more than just monetary and impossible to fix after the fact. So the article is up at knoxnews.com. It's not just Sparks reporting on it. Tyler Whetstone is helping him, or they're reporting this in conjunction with one another. So today, the AG of Tennessee, Jonathan Skrmetti, filed a brief in which Heupel declares his support of a preliminary injunction. Remember that the NCAA fought that off, and a TRO, a temporary restraining order, earlier in the week, which would freeze the NCAA's rules regarding name, image, and likeness benefits for athletes until the case concludes. The hearing for it is set on February 13th in Greenville, which is the federal courtroom there. The court, of course, denied the TRO on the 6th.
Sparks also reported this morning saying that the NCAA likely would drop their most serious charges that are filed against Tennessee if that preliminary injunction is granted, freezing those NIL rules.
Well,
but he says even if the injunction is denied, the Tennessee Attorney General and UT would still have legal grounds to ask the courts to strike down NCAA penalties related to NIL. So they've got a lot of recourse here. And it's clear the courts think that there's some strength in their argument.
Court, respectfully, this court's TRA decision, specifically its analysis of irreparable harm, should not control its preliminary injunction decision. This is courtesy of the AG Skrmetti. This court should find that plaintiffs, at least at the preliminary injunction stage, have shown irreparable harm. So you have quotes in here from Heupel that they frequently change the guidelines for NIL and that it's complicated the environment even further. They sometimes conflict with the NCAA's previous governance or guidance. And your boy Clifton Corker, the judge overseeing all of this, is the person who found that harm from NIL non-convincing. All right, last call for phone calls before we do some polls. Uncle Bob in Spring Hill next.
Hey, guys. I'm on?
You sure are, bud.
Hey, thanks for taking the call.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thank you, Lucas. This is Juwan Jennings now. I've got a little premonition from time to time when he caught that touchdown against Georgia, at the end zone. He called himself the Juice there at the last his senior year, and he's going to pick it up. So I'm thinking, I told Lucas a while ago, I think he's going to win a winning touchdown. Let me back off of that. But Jennings is going to catch a touchdown.
Okay, Bob. Well, we'll see if that comes to fruition for you. He's had a premonition, Uncle Bob has.
Had a vision. I love it.
Well, vision of Vols dancing through the end zone. How about that? Polls, please.
I don't know who you are, but I know what it's time for. A poll update on the Buck Rising Show. Here's a young man with a very particular set of skills. With the final numbers, here's Buck Rising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Pansica.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the most trusted Ford dealer in the South. Are you okay with Joe Flacco winning NFL Comeback Player of the Year? 82% say yes, he deserves it. 18% say no, should have been DeMar.
Yeah, probably the third option should have been, I don't care. Just get it over with. Move on.
Which University of Tennessee tie will have a bigger impact in Super Bowl 58? 58% say Trey Smith, 42% say Juwan Jennings.
Really? Well, I mean, I guess if it's between those two options, the person who figures to play 100% of the snaps is going to have a bigger impact.
Right. That's my argument. I'm going Trey, although I could see Juwan popping up in moments.
That's fair.
You excited for Usher?
I mean, yes.
I think it'll be great. I'm excited for it.
I'm trying not to get my expectations too high. You know, I haven't really thought about Usher until yesterday because I saw him doing Super Bowl interviews and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that's right, Usher.
I love seeing these headlines like Usher hints there might be guests at the Super Bowl. Like, of course there's going to be guests. When's the last time we had a Super Bowl halftime show that was just the performer that was scheduled and nobody else?
Lucas, literally last year, Rihanna did it by herself.
Oh. Yeah. Did she? She didn't have a single other. Oh, well, she's Rihanna. Damn. Yeah, you got me on that one. Before that, Buck, when's the last time?
When's the last time? How laughable. Literally last year.
I mean, we did get into a groove there where, like, we had one recently where Coldplay, Bruno Mars, Beyonce, and like the Chili Peppers are all doing this.
No, your point is well taken, but you can't come to the microphone exasperated. You literally threw your hands up in the air and said, the absurdity of just a Super Bowl performance by myself.
Well, she had a baby in her belly, so technically she wasn't alone.
Oh, no, you are not you are not invoking the name of her unborn child at the time.
Rihanna was awesome last year. Who you got? Chiefs or Niners? 51% are going Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, man.
Yeah, I'm going Chiefs.
Oh, my God, did we just make picks?
Look at that. Those are the polls.
It feels like a very uncharacteristic way to end the show, but yeah, I guess the show's on the Chiefs. I still haven't paid off my face painting bet from last year. Should we do that 2 years after the fact? I don't know. Who's to say? If I just show up one day and my face is randomly painted like an eagle, we'll have some fun with it. Blaine and Mickey, they've got a star-studded lineup. Coming up next, Neil O'Donnell, Javon Curse are on with the boys. You got 3HL live from Las Vegas for one last show. Have a great Super Bowl weekend. And come hang out with us at Jackalope on Sunday. If you don't have Super Bowl plans, we'll be there from 4 to 10 p.m. taking in the big game. See y'all.